If you've journaled, you've visualized, you've done the affirmations, you've done the inner work, you're constantly healing, you're in a self-awareness, you're so full of self-awareness, you're aware of everybody else's behavior and yours, and you're constantly taking your own responsibility for everybody else's behavior, and nothing in your manifestation is changing, it's because you're missing this one subconscious programming step that actually creates change. And trust me, I learned this one the hard way.
Before we dive in, let me tell you about the book that started a podcasting revolution, Make Every Podcast Want You. It is not just a bestseller, it is a 2-time gold medalist, baby. This book is your ultimate guide to landing dream podcast interviews, building authority authentically, and making your voice the one they remember. If you've got a message and a mission, this is your mic drop moment. Grab your copy today in the link below and step into the spotlight that you were born for.
Welcome to the Crown Yourself podcast, where together we build your empire and transform your subconscious stories about what's possible for your business, body, and life. I'm your host, Kimberly Spencer, founder of CrownYourself.com, and I'm a master mindset coach, best-selling author, TEDx speaker, known to my clients as a game changer. Each week, you get the conscious leadership strategies you need to help you reign with courage, clarity, and confidence so that you too can make the income and impact you deserve. Imagine this podcast as your royal invitation to step into your full potential and reign in your divine purpose. Your sovereignty starts here, and your reign is now. So I remember sitting back in 2018, and I had just hit my first 13K month. And I was like, oh my God, I have arrived. I am the coach now. As back then in 2017, 2018, it was like 10K months, and I had surpassed it. And as soon as I did, my nervous system went, what the hell just happened? Because my subconscious mind had a whole different identity than who I was being as that person. What happened was old identity patterns resurfaced, emotional reactions started to come up. And mind you, I was a new mom as well with my first son. This was a moment that suddenly that 13K month turned into a $997 month the next month, $997. This was where I realized the jarring divide between mindset and embodiment of that next level version of you. Because here's the thing, in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, a limiting belief isn't just a thought. We think that, oh, it's mindset. We need to change our mindset, right? But it's actually the way your mind is set that is the problem. That's actually where you're running into the problem, because true change happens when it's embodied. Your mindset is a subconscious rule that is set to create you safe. Your mindset is a subconscious rule that has been created to keep you safe. It can be something like visibility is dangerous, or money leaves quickly, or success equals abandonment, or I can't trust myself to follow through. Those belief systems get built up and reinforced, and that rule keeps on reprogramming and reprogramming and reprogramming and recoding and deepening. And it's kind of like, I know I've given this metaphor before, when you have the dishes and you have dishes in a sink, and the first day, dishes are fine. Like, you haven't washed them off, it's fine, it's okay. But you go multiple days, and what is sub-counter level suddenly starts spilling out to the counter and becoming conscious inside of your external environment. What happens is all of these beliefs, your dishes, have built up, your dirty dishes have built up beyond your conscious awareness. You don't think them, you live them. This is how, if you ever watched a show called Hoarders, where like, how does someone get to that space, that mindset where they're just surrounded by junk? I guarantee you it probably started with like a couple dirty dishes. So there is a surface level trap when it comes to mindset. Journaling can help with awareness. Visualization can help with motivation. Affirmations, quite frankly, watch my other video on why I think most affirmations are bullshit, but none of these actually recode a neural pattern. It's not rewiring and recoding the subconscious, which is controlling of what you do. It's like putting gold glitter like in a cracked foundation. It's pretty, but it's unstable. Or like what I said my business was in 2016, a sparkly turd. Because I had built up belief systems about myself, dirty dishes, that had gotten so encrusted with nasty beliefs that it had become part of my identity. If the identity doesn't shift, the mind will override the behavior. So, what happens is our subconscious mind has a hierarchy. And you're going to know if you work backwards, because some people are like, oh, well, let me just journal on a belief system. Well, sometimes the deepest belief systems we can't even identify because we are living them on a daily basis. So it takes a great amount of self awareness, but more so, the greatest way to identify what those beliefs are that are holding you back is to actually look at your environment. Look at what's pissing you off. Look at what's bothering you. Look at what triggers you, what activates you inside of your environment, because that is where projection starts to take place. Your environment is created by your behavior. Your behavior, it comes from your capabilities, which are formed by your thoughts and feelings and your beliefs. And at the base of that hierarchy is your identity. When you try to change your environment without changing your identity, your subconscious mind will constantly bring you back to the same repeated environment. This is what I did in 2016 when I experienced what I call money bulimia. So between the age of 11 and 22, I was actually bulimic with battling an eating disorder. And within the last 2 years, I recovered with no psychological or medical intervention. This was before I knew NLP. I just learned from the physical somatics how to reprogram my body and how to reprogram my mind to love my body. And I did it masterfully. But then that deeper identity belief that was running the show flipped forms. It flipped forms into relationships. So suddenly the belief of I didn't deserve to have a great body turned into I didn't deserve to have a beautiful relationship. So I attracted a few really colorful characters into my life. And from that experience, I then flipped again because I met my amazing husband after some pretty solid mistakes. And I met my amazing husband, and the belief shifted again, that it shifted forms because I was constantly changing the environment without changing the identity. And it shifted forms into my second business, which was my e-commerce company. And I was president of that company for 2 years, and then I was bought out. I had a successful exit by all means. But at the same time, because my identity was so eroded through that business, I questioned my ability to run a successful business when I started my coaching company. And I had a year and a half where I was experiencing financial bulimia, money in, money out, in the form of operational expenses, bills, etc., to the point where I was $40,000 in personal debt and $100,000 in debt with my husband. That was a mountain, and it seemed like nothing would change. And I knew that I could change it because I recognized the old patterns. I recognized the bulimia patterns. And it was from that pattern recognition that I said, I know I need to change. And then I found out I was pregnant with my first son. And then I said, I know I have a deadline. I know I need to get this done. And so I immediately got certified in NLP, timeline therapy, and hypnosis. I said I knew it was a mindset problem. I knew I could shift it. I shifted it. And within 3 months, I got my first $2,000 client, then my first $5,000 client, and it's just gone from there. We have been in successful business for 9 years now, and I have not, not looked back. But at the same time, the environment shifted when my identity shifted. That was what created the greatest transition in the environment. So let's say, for example, you have a belief system that says, I'm inconsistent. That's your identity. I'm inconsistent. I can't stick with this. So the belief is I won't stick with this. The belief is social media is hard. The belief is it's hard to grow on social media. Well, you're putting that belief that really is rooted in an identity of being inconsistent into, let me project that onto social media and blame social media. So you then create a behavior where like, I'm going to do it. And then you stop after 3 days. The same is true for if you have an identity of like, I'm someone success doesn't happen for. So maybe you may have a success, but then you mess it up. Then you create self-sabotage. And so there's a pattern. This is how we want to look at identity level recoding. So this is where it goes beyond journaling. goes into you becoming the version of you who doesn't need affirmations and this is why I think affirmations are bullshit, because the reason you have to say affirmations is because it's not who you actually are. The version of you who's going around saying, I'm amazing, I'm super wealthy. Like the version of you who's wealthy, I guarantee you, I hang around with a lot of people. Wealthy people aren't going around going, I'm wealthy, I'm so wealthy. They just know. Like they know. They don't order off the right side of the menu. They just look at what they want. So they are the affirmation. They don't have to do affirmations. You only have to do affirmations if you're telling yourself subconsciously that you aren't already the thing. So how we collapse this is it's in the behavior and the embodiment. Now, why this is challenging is because embodied wise, it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel unnatural. It's kind of like when you're trying on an outfit and it's like a size too small and it doesn't quite fit you, but you're on your journey. You know it can fit you at some point, but it's not quite there. And that's okay. The thing is that you have to know how to start leaning into like, I'm fitting into this dress. I'm figuring out how to fit this to my body. I'm figuring out how to make this mine. I'm trying a new style. So the fastest way to shift the identity into becoming more embodied into the behavior and identity that you want to achieve and have is looking at your physiology. I did not start in personal development looking at the mindset. I started from the body. I was a Pilates instructor for 13 years. And it was through Pilates that I was able to learn how to regulate my nervous system, to make it feel safe to make money on my own, to make it feel safe to not only make money on my own, but be able to have clients that return to me again and again and again and again. The physiology of safety had to be embodied. So exercise, like this is why I'm still the biggest, even though I don't teach it anymore, I'm still the biggest advocate for Pilates, yoga, and Qigong, because those are 3 forms of exercise that actually regulate your nervous system to make your body feel safe. Because if your body is physiologically in a state of stress and money is created in the physical realm, so money, fitness, results, relationships, they're all created in the physical realm. All of that. Thus, we have to make the body, what is in the physical realm, feel safe. When the body feels safe, meaning it can go from a sympathetic into a parasympathetic. It's not that sympathetic is a bad state to be in, because sympathetic is your nervous system that says, I'm firing, I'm going for the goal, I'm chasing the soccer ball down the field, I'm doing the thing, like you're excited to do it. It can also be the system that's activated when you're scared. Your brain just literally does not know the difference between fear and excitement. So it can be both, but we want to be able to regulate from that fear, from that excitement, from I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm just figuring out how to do this, into like parasympathetic. I'm good. I'm safe. I'm loved. I have food on my table. I can feed my kids. I can support them. I'm so supported. I have community. God always shows up for me. God is always on my side. I am always cared for. I am always taken care of at the level that I can hold. And being able to learn how to shift that, and Pilates through the physiology, through the breath, and through physical exercise such as Pilates, yoga, and Qigong. Those are 3 forms of exercise that activate the parasympathetic nervous system. You can actually physiologically retrain your body to have a stronger capacity for resilience. Then we have the reframe of the belief. So once the physiology is a little different, literally you can trick your brain into feeling less scared, into not scared about the goals that you want to achieve by just sitting up straight. Shin up, shoulders back. That actually tells your body, it tells your nervous system that you're confident. Even if you're like, I'm totally thinking this right now, even if you're totally thinking it, it'll still train your nervous system that you're confident. It'll tell your brain versus this position, cowering over in fear, hiding, rolling your shoulders forward, tech neck, looking down, all of this, that actually trains your brain that you are in a survival state, right? So we want to be aware of the posture so that we don't have to feel like we're posturing. We can actually posture our posture to not be posturing, but actually send the signals of confidence to our brain. That was a mouthful right there. That being said, we want to look at the belief. So once we look at the physiology, changing the physical, the literal physical posture, we look at the belief system, like I'm bad with money. And this belief system, I was telling my group of mompreneurs, of local mompreneurs, just this past Monday, I said, sometimes it's hard to look at the belief system because we don't know what the beliefs are, but just look at your bank account. That'll tell you what your belief system is. And you look at the patterns of your bank account. Maybe you draw your bank account down to negative every month. Somehow money always comes in, but like you always draw it down to negative. Maybe you have a high credit card bill and you just barely pay the minimum. All of these are pieces and clues to the pattern of the underlying belief system. Maybe you're able to like bring in revenue. Like this was me with money bulimia. Like you bring in revenue, but suddenly more bills manifest. Where did that come from? That is where we then get to say, okay, what's the belief system that's underlying this? Once is a fluke, twice is a pattern, and 3 times you got a belief system going on. So that pattern could be I'm bad with money. That pattern could be I'm a spender. Like I spend a lot. We would reframe that belief system to like, I am learning to steward my money. I am learning to steward my money wisely right now. I am learning how to be a good steward of money. I'm learning how to hold and cherish and let money nourish me. That's how we then start shifting that belief, but comes from being not saying I'm doing this because like I'm not saying not walking around going from I'm bad with money to like I'm a wealthy woman. No, that's how you confuse your subconscious mind and you reinforce the belief system that you're not. But if you go to a reframe like I'm learning to do this. I'm becoming a great steward of money. One of my belief systems that I've been shifting is the story of overwhelm and shifting that story of overwhelm and capacity to my regular daily conversation. I'm not going to say affirmation is I'm expanding my capacity every day. I'm like, I can feel it when I'm getting to that point. I'm like, I'm expanding my capacity right now. Mama's expanding her capacity. And then instead of fighting the belief, ask what the belief intended you to protect you from. Maybe that belief system was installed there years ago to protect you from ever having to have like a significant loss. Most of our belief systems are rooted in safety, control, and acceptance, societal acceptance. So ask which one of those was maybe it was all 3, but which one was the one that it was allowing you to be safe, allowing you to be in control, even if it's in control of your own demise and societally accepted. Sometimes it's really societally accepted to be a trier. It's really accepted to talk or complain about the economy, but it's not really societally accepted to be like, business is great. I know I can see how it's hard for other people, but for me, the economy is going to do what the economy does. Business is great. I am a creator of my reality. That's my belief system. Feel free to adopt it, borrow it, try it on, see if it fits like a nice sweater. But I want you to look like if you want to truly reprogram your subconscious mind, you have to be aware of the belief, aware of the sensation, aware of the pattern that's going on, and you will know the pattern by the actions that are being taken and by the results, conscious or unconscious, especially those that you don't want. I live by one simple rule. That which is conscious manifests happily, that which is unconscious manifests unhappily. If it is unconscious and unhealed, it is manifesting unhappily in your reality. So say, for example, hey, yay balloons. There we go. There we go. There's just a couple balloons on my screen. So if it is unconscious and unhappy, you like that is a sign. There we go again. The balloons, they just keep coming. There is the power of recognizing what is conscious and what is unconscious in your reality. And when you can recognize what is unconscious and unhappily manifesting, then that is a sign that there's something that is unhealed in your unconscious mind that then you get to heal. That then this is where the deep work and the identity shift gets to happen. Because once you integrate that shadow, once you integrate and heal that within yourself, that is where the magic actually happens. That is where the results start coming through on a whole new level. So you'll know by what's unconscious going on in your environment that you don't like going on. Maybe it is that your bank balance dips into the negative every month. Maybe it is that sometimes you step on the scale and it's like 10 pounds heavier. You're like, what the hell? All I had was like one tiny ice cream. I used to have that all the time. Maybe it is the fact that every time you see your kid, they're complaining, they're always fighting. Well, that's a sign that there is something that gets to be shifted in here. So you interrupt the loop. So for example, I was literally the mom just recently because my boys are 8 and 4 and there was some fighting going down and it was like a daily thing. And I was getting to the point where I was like, oh, here we go again. All right. Okay. There's the fighting. There's the whining. Who's crying? And I had to interrupt that loop without starting my day with like the eye roll. And I said, you know what? Instead, I'm going to start out no matter what state they're in. I'm going to choose to go up to them like they're like I'm a puppy and be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to see you. Good morning. Good morning. How are you?" And then from that altered state, yes, even though it is intentionally created, I have intentionally created that state. It's not to be manipulative. It's so that I can be in a better place to solve problems from a different state of consciousness. And so I choose to step into that state and then from that state, I can handle the problem a lot better. Of like, "Oh, what happened? Okay. How are you feeling? Walk me through the facts." Okay, what can we do about that? How can we work through that problem? Rather than suddenly going through and being reactive to their reactions. Not a successful parenting solution. That way, your state then breaks that state to shift the environment. So, say for example, maybe it's like avoiding your bank balance because you're like, it just goes into the negative. Okay, cool. So you can break the state by shifting your environment by doing the one action that you're avoiding, which means you're going to look at your bank balance like daily and you're going to go check. And then you're not just going to look at the snapshot of your bank balance. You're actually going to go back and look at your lead flow, your sales flow, who's in your conversion pipeline, who's buying, what offers have you made, how many offers have you made this week, and go to track those metrics that actually move the needle of what goes into your bank balance. And then we need to focus on recoding the identity. So the identity gets recoded by looking at how does the version of me that already has the thing. What do they believe? How do they react? I did this very simply with my kids, with the complaining and the fighting. I said, who is the mother version of me that is so excited to see their kids and whose kids have a wonderful, happy, healthy relationship? And I was like, oh, that person greets their kids not with like, "Here we go again," to, "Hi, how you guys doing? So good to see you this morning. I'm so excited. What's going on?" That action created something different. And then we want to install it somatically. So your breath, your posture, and your micro actions. Your breath will tell you if you are stressed. Most people are only breathing in the top 1/3 of their lungs. Breathing deep into the belly, that actually embodies you. It tells your nervous system that you're safe. It lets you know that you are safe. You are safe in your growth, allowing yourself to breathe. Your posture, shifting that posture and then taking those micro actions. Your body will then become the anchor, not the thought. You don't have to believe everything you think. And in fact, that's a wonderful book to read. And then we want identity. And here's the thing, with shifting anything about your identity, anything about who you're becoming, that next level version of yourself, identity sticks through repetition. And it's not repeating affirmations. We've already been over that one. It comes from repeating, not from what you say, but repeating your behavior, repeating the physiology, and letting your physiology know it is safe to go for that next level. It is safe to do the thing. It is safe to have that money. It is safe to have the healthy body. It is safe to have the amazing, beautiful relationships. This is how you stop thinking about transformation and actually become it. So if you're like, I want more of this, I need to dive deep, I need some action, I need some bite-sized kick in the pants strategy every week to be able to really keep me aligned to taking that courageous action, then jump into the collective. It is open right now. Join now. It is my group membership where every month we are taking you through group coaching through my signature Queen Bee coaching process. So we're going to be working on your mindset, your skill sets, your systems, your branding, your marketing, your sales, your vision, your relationships, your referrals, your data, your legacy, and your generational wealth building strategy. We are building your empire from the inside out. We are building it from that space of self-worth, from that space of ownership, from that space of you being worthy of your crown because you were divinely put on this planet to create and build exactly what is placed in your heart to create and build. And that the collective is the place where we are activating that. We are activating it and moving that needle forward on a weekly basis. We are checking in, making sure that you are moving that needle, doing the things that you are not avoiding doing, but doing the things that actually move the needle so we shift and up level our identity. With that, click down link down below if you're like, yes, I need some of that, Queen, and let me in. Jump in. And as always, my fellow sovereigns, own your throne, mind your business, because your reign is now. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If what you heard resonated with you, be sure to subscribe and start creating a bigger impact now by sharing this with a friend. Just by doing that one simple act of kindness, you are creating a royal ripple to support more people in their sovereignty.
And if you're not already following on social media, connect with me everywhere at crownyourself.now for more inspiration. I am so excited to connect with you in the next episode. And in the meantime, go out there and create a body, business, and life that rules. Because today, you crown yourself.